Thank you, Chair Murray. Secretary McDonough, great to see you. And, excellent care for Michigan's more than 500,000 veterans is a priority for me. And you and I have spoken about those veterans many times, and I know that is a priority for you as well. It's something we clearly share. But back in September of last year, Senator Stabenow and I were alarmed to learn about the Office of Medical Inspector report that revealed a crisis of care at the John Dingell VA Medical Center in downtown Detroit. Leadership and managerial failures at the facility exacerbated shortcomings in care, leading to basically a culture of distrust and low patient as well as employee morale. In September, Senator Stabenow and I called on the VA's Inspector General to conduct an independent investigation into allegations of misconduct at the facility, and an investigation was launched shortly after that, although we're still awaiting the results of that investigation. More recently, Senator Stabenow and I have also called for the VA to initiate, as soon as permissible, the process of appointing permanent leadership at the facility capable of delivering the world-class care that our nations certainly have earned, and I know you're committed to provide. So my question for you, Mr. Secretary, is I understand that the recommended reforms in the Office of Medical Inspector have now been implemented. I want to know, are those reforms leading to documented improvements in veteran care and culture at that facility this time? What's your assessment?
Yeah, thanks very much. Obviously, we have been, and I continue to be very alarmed about the reporting out of Detroit, and we are taking every step to get to the bottom of it to ensure that good care continues, and as importantly, to ensure that veterans have confidence that they will get good care when they go. The recommended improvements laid out by the Office of the Medical Inspector have been implemented. But what we have asked, and based on your interjection and ours, the IG is doing, the Inspector General is doing, is assessing how effectively those changes have been implemented. So I just talked to him about this on Monday of this week. He and I have a very active dialogue on Detroit in particular. And so rather than me give you our view of how it's going there, I think it's really important that we get the IG's independent look at whether our performance as against those recommended steps is what it should be. So I anticipate that happens in the relatively near future. I think we're talking about weeks or months rather than months or years on that. So I hope we have news on that soon.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, and you've expressed to me your intention to visit the Detroit VA Medical Center to meet with veterans and staff.
You asked for my commitment on that. I gave it, and you invited me, but I understand what those kind of invitations mean, which is like I better get myself out there. So.
Yes, thank you for that. I appreciate that, and hopefully we can do that soon.
Yeah.
Last year, I led a letter on behalf of 28 bipartisan senators calling for robust funding for the VA State Veterans Home Construction Grant Program. And as you know, that program allows states to modernize their existing facilities and begin construction of new sites. Currently, there are more than $600 million in unfulfilled grant requests by the states. I think that clearly demonstrates the states are eager and willing and prepared to take on this important responsibility, as well as a share of the cost for caring for these veterans. In Michigan, the grant program has allowed for replacing the Michigan Veterans Home in Grand Rapids and constructing a new Veterans Home in Macomb County. In addition, the Michigan State Legislature recently appropriated funding for a long overdue replacement of Veterans Home in Marquette in Michigan's Upper Peninsula. But breaking ground on the facility is contingent on receiving a federal grant. So my question for you, Mr. Secretary, is can you speak to the importance of adequate funding for the VA State Veterans Home Construction Grant Program as we look at a very lengthy list from states for these improvements?
Well, we think it's a really, as I was just saying to Senator Collins, we think this is a very successful program. We think that the way we structure this, whereby the states put in 35% of the cost, and then we at VA with the generosity of the taxpayer, cover the other 65% has, a very concrete manifestation of that partnership. We obviously, though, given the enormity of the list, have to prioritize those requests from the states. And we have an elaborate, very transparent process that allows us to do that. But we can only get so far down the list. And this is why the president has asked for another increase in that grant-funded program this year. I know that you've been supportive in the past of increasing that. I've told you privately, and I reiterate publicly our appreciation for that and our hope that we can continue to grow that so we can get more and more of our senior vets into quality long-term care. I will just say this is one of the real sleeper challenges for us at VA, which is senior veterans experiencing mental health crisis, perhaps with no family or estranged from family, with a history of behavioral health challenges. We end up having, in many markets, in many cities, that is the fastest growing cohort of our homeless veterans, geriatric seniors, geriatric veterans with acute mental health disorder. Our partnership with the states helps that. Our work with HHS helps that. Our own community living centers helps that. But we got to get ahead of this because it's the start of this crisis. It's not the end of it.
Great. Well, I appreciate your commitment. Thank you, Chair Murray.